Hello friend, welcome to all of you. This is chapter number 3, paying banker. In the previous lecture, we have discussed now about the paying banker and the precaution taken by the paying banker whenever the issue of the customer check or paying of customer check. In this lecture, we will be discuss on the duties and rights of paying banker. So let's start with our point. So last time we also discussed the point of the topic number 3. The topic number 3 is the paying banker, and there is the important point, the definition and meaning of paying banker, the precaution in payment of customer check, which is discussed in the previous lecture. Today we discuss now the right and duties of paying banker, then next lecture about the statutory protection to paying banker, and last about the reasons of returns of the check. So meaning of paying banker. What is meant by the paying banker? Paying banker on whom check is drawn should be paid the check when they presented for the payment. So paying banker is the banker who paid the check of the customer to pay is called the paying banker. So paying banker is the drawee which is the pay the behalf of their customer check to the pay. So paying banker, one who is a drawee bank who pay the check of his customer to third party or pay. So the duty of paying banker is a great responsibility and a call for great care, caution and prudence and the presence of mind of his part. Because of the bank take a proper care about the issue of the check for their customers. So bank done their duties and as well as use their rights whenever they used their rights. So bank use their rights as well as done their duties into the customs and uses. The fund of the customer in the bank account is payable on the demand, honoring the check which are the draw by the customers and present by the legitimated holder. So legitimate holder means the legally holder. So fund of the customer in the bank account payable on the demand, and honoring the check of the customer is the duty of the bank, and that time bank take a proper care of the issue of the customer check. So paying banker and definition of paying banker as per the law and as per the Negotiable Instrument Act. The term paying banker refer to the position and duties of the drawee bank with the payment of check draw on it by its customer. So paying banker refer to the position and duties of a drawee bank whenever the payment of check draw of its customer. Paying banker in Indian context, the paying banker the undertake the honoring his customer check up to the amount of certain balance, credit balance in the current up to the limit any agreed overdraft under the condition stipulated in the section 126, 127 and 129 of the Negotiable Instrument Act. So paying banker is the bank or drawee bank which is the pay the check behalf of their customer. So where we see the meaning and definition. Here we see the rights of the paying banks. What are the rights of the paying banks? The first is the protection in the payment. The protection in the case of the bearer checks, the protection for draft drawn by one office of a bank and another office and same bank in the case of payment made by the mistake. So whenever the transaction of two branches of the same bank, that time bank has the right to correct their mistakes. So there is the protection into the payment. It is the right of the paying banker. Refuse the payment of their customer. The bank has the right to refuse the payment. Demand for money made by the customer is the improper. Whenever the customer's demand is the improper, means sometimes there is alteration in the check there is the insufficient balance of the account, that time the paying banker right to refuse the payment of their customers or wrongful the demand of the customer or any wrongful material alternation into the check, that time bank can refuse the payment. Next is the right of the minimum balance. The payment banker has the right to maintain minimum balance for as per the RBI law, the followed liquidity principle. So whenever the customer not follow the these rules, that time bank can charge the some minimum charges and penalties to the customer. So right of the maintain minimum balance of cash of the paying banker. Right to inquiry, if the bank have any doubt about the check, so that bank take a formal inquiry to the customer, their identification, ask for the PAN card, ask for the Aadhaar card, or check his signature in front of the bank authority and check his specimen signature. The next right of the paying banker is about the check detail on the check. Whatever the customer write the details on the check is right or wrong. So bank can check the account number and their account balance also. So bank has the right to check the detail on the check which is presented to counter for the payment behalf of their customer. Only payment on the counter. The bank is the right to payment at the counter only, not be other places where the customer want to demand. Means the customer want their payment in their business places or in their house or any other places, the bank can refuse their demand. Bank only payment on their counter, it is the right of the banker. The payment in the working hours, bank is the right to the payment check only the working hours. Generally working hours is the 9 am to the 4 pm in the city areas and the metropolitan cities, and normal time is the 11 am to 5 pm. So payment in working hours is the right of the paying banker. Refuse to payment, again we see that the banker has a right to refuse the payment against the fraud check whenever they doubt about the signature of the customer, any doubt about the material alternation, the like rising amount on check or any alternation in check, date, and the doubt about the signature, about the fraud signature. So bank can refuse the payment for protection for their side and protection to their customer. Right of paying banker, again we say that the right to the choice when the customer present the multiple checks at a time to the payment for the pay, that time bank can choose the any one check which is the presented to the payment. So bank can right to choose the which one is the given first and which is given the after, when at a time the multi checks is the present for the payment. The next is the recovery of money. If the banker sometime make a payment mistake, his desire to correct his mistake and recover the amount in Indian under section 72 of Indian Contract Act. By mistake banker send the certain money the wrong customer, that time bank has the right to recover their money as per the Indian Contract Act section 72. Then the refuse to the cross check. The cross check, whenever the left side of the check corner, when we parallel two line is the draw the cross and we write something or only just cross the line is general crossing or special crossing. So it is right the bank refuse the demand of the customer to collect cash payment about his check. The bank should be only deposit the check in account of the customer. So again next is the dishonoring the post dated and stale checks. When paying banker has right to the refuse the payment of stale check when the date is the over, then the check become the stale check. Normally there is the 3-month duration and maturity on the check, and after 3 months it's become a stale check. Or the post dated check, in that case of the post dated customer may be changed if the customer is died, insufficient of balance, insolvency. So there are the many risks into the payment of the post dated check. So post dated checks and the backdated checks bank can refuse is the right of the paying banker. Right of the close of the account. As the collecting banker, the banker has for the security the right to the close the account which are not being the operate properly or whom customer is the defaulter find judicially matter. So paying banker is also right to the close of customer account. Right to the sanction of loan. The sanction of loan advances as per the guideline of the RBI and banking law. Recovery of loan sanction through of the legal or non-legal measures demanding for the security are also the right to the paying banker. So these are the rights of the paying banker. The next we are looking the sum of the duties which is the important and the obligation on the paying banker to play their role and done their duties. First is to the not pay out of banking hours. The Negotiable Instrument Act provide the presentment of the payment must be made during the usual course of business within the banking working hours. So bank is the mandatory to pay the customers payment within their working hours. Normal time is the 11 am to 5 pm and at the close of the time where the customer is enter in the bank, that time if there is the demand in the within the working hours, the before of 5 pm bank can accept it. After that bank will be refused. So not pay out of banking hours. So duty is the pay the customer checks to pay within the banking hours. The next is the computation of balance after the every receipt and the payment. There is every transaction of the deposit of withdrawal from the account. So the bank is the duty these maintain the minimum balance of their customers and inform to time customer about their balance. The next is the duty of the banker is the security. They maintain the security in respect of the account of customer about balance available account but under judicial matter and Indian Penal Code, and the bank can disclose the information exceptional cases only. Otherwise, if anyone asks about the customer's balance and account information, bank can be refused because of the security is the duty and obligation on the paying bankers. Next is the honoring the check. The cost or bearer check which are presented by the customer for payment is due by the banker is the honoring. So honoring the customer check for the payment is the duty on paying banker. The next is about the returning of check, about the stale check or mutilated check. If there is the doubt about the correctness, balance, amount, signature, any, that time bank can refuse. It is the duty of the bank to refuse the check for the payment for protect their customer. So it is the duty of the bank. The respect of endorsement, the bank should be satisfy himself whether or not the check present him required to endorsement, and if so whether the endorsement are the regular in nature. So bank is duty to honor the and respect of the endorsement where the customer the given special instruction of processing or the account pay, the whatever is there. In the case of the illiteracy or illiterate person, the left hand thumb mark should be impressed and the witnesses should be verified. The bank this duty is important, particularly in rest of the payment, particularly in respect of the payment or the bearer check. So in the case of the illiteracy and illiterate person, bank is the demand for the customer, the witnesses and the left hand thumb impression. It is the duty of the bank. Payment in due course. The paying banker can claim the protection. The banker duty is to consider the main requisites, the payment of maturity in good faith of without the negligence. The person whom the payment is to be made should be in possession of the instrument. So the duty of the banker is also changed according to the type of the customer and the circumstances in which he is required the service from the bank. So payment in due course, the duty of the bank. The next duty that the Compensation. If the banker failed to do the without sufficient reason, make liable under section 31 of Negotiable Instrument Act to compensate the drawer for any loss and damage caused of the such default of or mistake of the paying bank. If the banker done the wrongful discharge, it shall be liable to pay the damage and compensation to his loss of the money paid, also shall be liable to pay damage or compensate to his customer. If the wrongful entry made by the banker and the deposit money for the wrong customer, that time the bank must be compensate their customer's amount. The next is the notice of dishonor. Whenever the dishonor of the check, the dishonor of the instrument, that time the bank is duty play the inform their customer because of the any reasons, insufficient of balance of and the wrongful endorsement, any reasons. So notice of dishonor given to the customer is the duty of paying bank. Summary of this lecture. What we learned from this lecture: a paying banker is a banker who the check is drawn should be paid the check when it's presented for payment. So paying banker, one who the drawing bank who the pay the check of his customer. So paying bank is the drawing bank who pay the customer check in behalf of their customer to pay and third parties. And rights of the paying banker, we see the protect in payment in the same branches transaction, the refuse the payment of the customer in the wrongful endorsement, the insufficient balance and any of reason. Right of minimum balance, maintain the minimum balance, right to inquiry of the customer identification, check the detail on the check, the date and signature and whatever things. Only payment on the counter, not in any other place. The payment in only working hours of bank, and bank can refuse to payment the customer whenever they doubt about the any endorsement, insufficient of balance and any material alteration into the check. Also, bank have the obligation to play their duties in regard this provide services to customer, not pay out of the banking hours, but the pay the payment within the working hours. It is the duty on the banks. The computation of balance, maintain the minimum balance, the security of the account is the duty of the bank, holding the check of the customers, returning of the check whenever the any doubt for the bank, the respect to the endorsement of their customer, the general crossing or special crossing. In case of the illiterate person, the left hand thumb impression and witnesses is a demand by the bank, is a duty on the bank. The payment in due course, the compensate to the customer when by mistake bank pay the money to the others and any damages is for the customer's credit that time. And notice to dishonor, whenever the check is dishonor, that time bank is duty to inform their customer. So references for this topic, you can use the Nirali publication book or Success publication book, Banking Law and Practices for your study. Next is about the assignment question. What question will be asked in the examination? Very important question will be asked in term end and as well as your annual examination. They explain the meaning, duties and rights of paying banker. It is the 20 marks or 15 marks question for the term end exam or annual examination. So thank you for watching this video, and the next time we will be see the next point, the statutory protection to paying bank.